Well, I've just been sitting here stupidly blithering to myself. Because again, as usual, I did not hit record. So I'll just run over it quickly. All these trunks running off the canvas, as I mentioned, were bothering me. So I took some foliage and put it in front of this minor trunk here to cap it off. And this was quite a light area. No longer. Now it's toned down, less important. I also put a bit of foliage behind these trunks. And even though they run off the canvas, if you look closely at it, the value is so low now, it's so similar to the tops of the trunks, that they're less important, so it's not so bothersome. I still have some concerns about these ones. I'm not going to decide just yet which ones I'm going to cap or what I'm going to do with them. To me, this was very obvious. I laid in I put some outlines in with a bit of what is it? Burnt sienna and a bit of ultramarine blue. Yeah, that's about it. To lay in these lines, or to outline everything, to draw it in. Then I filled it in with cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, a bit of yellow ochre, and a bit of burnt sienna, and a bit of white, just a hint, to paint in the foliage. So I'm happy with that now. We'll see. We'll just see what I'm going to do next. I'm going to have a little sit. Well, one thing here that I'm not fond of. It's just a small area, but the value is so high. Now that I've darkened this corner, this value is far too high. I'm not fond of it at all. I'm just going to get rid of that completely. I just needed a little bit of raw umber and a hint of white on there. Just take it down a notch. Doesn't need much, but it's kind of important. Not quite color matching perfectly. And I'm not quite worried about that. I'll take that line out too, actually. I don't like that line there. So we have a big area here. I think I'd like to have, this is a bit of a grassy slope on this side. I think I'd like it to be catching a little more light than it is right now. Now, I don't want it to compete with these rocks, but I don't think it has to. It doesn't need a lot of color. It does not need that. I think it would be beneficial to just have a little more presence. Because at the moment it just seems to kind of disappear. I'm not knocking the value up too crazy much, but a little bit. Okay. think that could be beneficial. Methinks. Hopefully he doesn't think too much. All right. Just a hint more yellow ochre and a bit more white into that mixture. Just so it doesn't appear to be too flat. Okay, I'm not sure it needs any more than that. But what I do need to do, I believe, is reintroduce a little bit of a dark line here. Okay. Now, seeing as I've lightened that a little bit, what I'd like to do is, let me just get that off my palette. A little more intense color here. And at the base of this tree. Okay, that's burnt sienna. Now we'll put a little bit of ultramarine blue in with it. Just so our shadow side doesn't appear to be too dark. Speaking of which, I'm going to do that here as well. I don't want that shadow side to appear to be too dark. There. Now, rather than bisecting the tree, it's just a hint rounder, just a little. That trail off a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to do. Boy, that's very bright. Ah, it's okay. You know, I talked I think it was a title of one of my videos recently where it said little fixes don't fix big problems, and that is true. But small adjustments can fix big problems. I don't think this painting has any big problems. I just think some areas need to be pushed back, some areas need to be brought forward, and the general feel and tone of the painting needs to be given a little more of a vivid look. That's what I'm after. So in the interest of doing that, making some lighters lighter, making some lower values even lower, we increase the drama between the dark and the light. So that's what we're playing with. So I'd like to figure this cleft in the rock. Number one, right now it's a dark spot, almost dead center. Because I've lightened this up, it's kind of closed it off and it's become a bit of a hole. So I need to decide how to manage that. And I think what I'd like to do is bring this rock in behind those two. More or less like so. And we have some highlighting up here. I think I'd like to bring that down as well. Gotta remember to add a little bit of linseed oil to my brush here. Or to my paint rather. Okay, while we're at it, why don't we lighten this a little bit. It's looking awfully scrubby-dub-dub, so I'd like to make it look a little more, well, a tad more direct. Okay. This is the shade, this is around the corner in the shade here, but I think it's too much in the shade. So we'll put some, let me get some raw umber and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Mix it into that same pile. What do we end up with? Yeah, okay, I think that's quite doable. Nope, that's too warm still. A little more ultramarine blue. Okay. This is starting to appear a little more monolithic now. And let's see. think I'll go with a bit more of this grassy green stuff here. Not too dark. Okay. All right. That's helping. That was that step. Now I think we're going to have to work on bringing some highlights here and forming this. I've kind of messed that up, and we need to straighten things out there. Well, really tone down the backside of this rock. You know, really trying to focus in this area here. Again, you know, the drawing's pretty much there. If I need to reinforce some lines that I've wiped out, fine, I can do that. Or I can move them. But, you know, we're bringing it back down. We're killing it so that we can bring it back to life again. Not going too dark, but, you know, well, in some areas maybe, but leaving it at that. Now, I've begun to work on these a little bit. I've shaped the top of this bit of rocky structure here. I don't know if it's going to stay. Right now we have all these sort of rocks in the foreground that are all more or less the same height. If I manage to vary them enough in light and shadow, I may leave it as it is, leave them as they are, or I may just dispense with one, you know? Or maybe even say, maybe for example, bring one up higher on the end here. I don't know about that. But as I've mentioned with tree branches, I do them one at a time, or tree trunks, you know. I don't go all over the place. I put fairly careful thought into each of the structures. That's what I've done here. So I think this is okay. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this rock as it sits. Now we're going to have to work on this and these. But now I'm getting into painting wet paint into wet paint, so it's going to have to sit for a little bit. But still, heading in the right direction.